In the shadows where truth and tales intertwine, we find the thrilling, the chilling, the downright spine-tingling. From the paranormal to the peculiar, every echo has a story. Dare to delve into the unexpected, the unexplained? Brace yourself, for you're about to embark on a journey where fear meets fascination. Stay tuned if you dare, for stories that will make your heart race and your mind ponder. Welcome to the realm of the eerie, the realm of the unknown. And remember, like and subscribe, if you dare. A chilling call disturbs the quiet night at the police station. The officer on duty, a grizzled veteran with a lifetime of strange tales under his belt, perks up as the static-filled voice on the other end reports an unsettling incident at the picnic car parking area near the woods. A couple claims to have spotted a large hairy man, more beast than human, lurking around parked cars. Without wasting a moment, our officer heads out, the glow of the dashboard casting long shadows over his furrowed brow. Upon arrival, a chilling sight greets him. An abandoned car parked haphazardly, bearing the violent marks of an unknown assailant. The driver's window, a spiderweb of shattered glass, tells a tale of brute force and panic. The passenger door, ripped clean off its hinges, lies discarded a few feet away, as if tossed aside by an immense strength. A cold shiver runs down the officer's spine as he takes in the scene. The car's interior is a chaotic mess, belongings strewn about, a clear sign of a frenzied search or a struggle. The officer moves around the car, his flashlight cutting through the darkness, revealing the silent witnesses of the horrifying event. Turning his attention to the area surrounding the car, he discovers something that makes his heart pound in his chest. Large, strange tracks, not quite human, lead away from the car and into the foreboding woods. The tracks are fresh, the smell of damp earth still clinging to them. The officer looks at the path they carve, a trail leading into the heart of the unknown. The woods loom large and menacing, teeming with secrets hidden amongst its dense foliage. The moonlight filtering through the trees casts an eerie glow, casting long, monstrous shadows that seem to dance and writhe with every rustle of the leaves. The officer takes a deep breath, steeling himself against the fear gnawing at his gut. With a gulp, the officer ventures into the unknown, following the ominous tracks. His hand tight on the handle of his service pistol, he steps into the woods, the darkness swallowing him whole. The story of the ransacked car ends here, but a new, more terrifying chapter is about to begin. The woods swallow up the officer as he steps onto a path less traveled. His boots crunch against the undergrowth, each step a testament to the courage within him, a courage that wavers as the trees tower over him like silent observers, their leaves whispering secrets in the wind. The forest seems alive, each rustle and chirp contributing to a symphony of nature that is as beautiful as it is eerie. As he ventures further into the woods, the officer's eyes catch a disturbing sight. Drag marks like clawed fingers had raked the earth, disturbed the otherwise serene woodland floor. His heart pounds in his chest as he follows the trail, each step taking him deeper into the heart of the woods, deeper into the unknown. The trail ends abruptly at a sight that chills his blood, the gruesome remains of a man. The woman, however, is nowhere to be seen. He fumbles for his radio, his fingers shaking as he tries to call for backup. But his lifeline to the outside world is silent. Only static greets him, the crackling noise echoing in the silence, a grim reminder of his isolation. His breath comes in ragged gasps as he looks around, his eyes darting from shadow to shadow. The silence is oppressive, suffocating, the only sound his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. His mind races, thoughts of escape and rescue mingling with the creeping dread that gnaws at his sanity. Just when he thinks he can't take the silence any longer, a faint cry pierces the air. It's a woman's voice, weak and trembling, echoing through the trees. His heart leaps in his chest. Could it be the missing woman? His fear momentarily forgotten, he rushes towards the sound, his flashlight cutting through the darkness, a beacon of hope in the face of despair. A faint cry echoes through the trees, a beacon of hope for the missing woman. Fueled by adrenaline, the officer charges through the darkness, guided by the cries. His heart pounds in his chest like a tribal drum, echoing the urgency of his mission. He bursts into a clearing, his breath ragged, and he expects to see the woman. But there's no one, just an empty space bathed in the ghostly glow of the moon. A cold realization washes over him. He's lost. The once familiar woodland is now a labyrinth of darkness and fear. The officer is alone, stranded in the heart of the wilderness with no sense of direction. panic begins to gnaw at his resolve. He's a protector, a servant of the law, but now he's just prey. Deciding against wandering aimlessly, he settles for the night. He builds a fire, its flickering light casting long, monstrous shadows on the surrounding trees. The gentle crackle of burning wood is a small comfort against the symphony of the unknown that surrounds him. As the night deepens, the woods come alive. Strange noises puncture the silence. The rustling of leaves, the snapping of twigs, a distant guttural grunt. Each sound is a phantom, unseen but not unfelt. The officer's skin prickles with fear, his pulse racing in time with the wild rhythm of the forest. His body tenses with every noise, every shift in the wind. But there is one tree, thick and sturdy, that promises a modicum of safety. He huddles against it, the rough bark pressing into his back as he strains to see into the inky darkness. His mind races with thoughts of what could be lurking just beyond the reach of his vision. As the night stretches on, the officer's eyelids grow heavy. His body aches for rest, his mind for respite. He fights it, but exhaustion is a relentless foe. His eyes flutter closed, his body slumping against the tree. But even as he succumbs to the pull of sleep, his senses remain on high alert. The unknown is a terrifying place to be, especially when you're not alone. As sleep claims him, a massive figure lurks in the shadows. A sudden jolt awakens the officer only to find himself in the clutches of a monstrous creature. The officer's heart pounds in his chest like a war drum. His blood runs cold and a primal fear seizes him. He's being hoisted over the shoulder of a gargantuan beast, an entity straight out of folklore and campfire tales. A creature that bears an uncanny resemblance to the stories of Bigfoot, the elusive ape-man of the woods. Yet here he is, a horrifying reality as tangible as the fear coursing through the officer's veins. The creature moves with a disturbing grace, navigating the dense forest with an ease that belies its monstrous size. It clambers up steep cliff faces, its powerful limbs effortlessly propelling both of them higher and deeper into the wilderness. Each step takes them further away from civilization, from safety, from any hope of rescue. After what feels like an eternity, they arrive at a hidden lair nestled within the forest's heart. Amidst the shadows, he spots a figure huddled in the corner. It's the missing woman, her body frail and battered, her spirit barely clinging to the vestiges of hope. Her eyes meet his, and in them he sees a mirror of his own terror, his own desperation. Thrown to the ground, the officer locks eyes with smaller creatures lurking in the darkness. A chill runs down his spine as he realizes the grim truth. This isn't just a lair, it's a den, a family of these beasts, each one more terrifying than the last. The officer has been ensnared, captured by the beast, and as the cold reality of his situation sets in, an eerie silence descends, punctuated only by the soft rustling of the creatures in the shadows. In the dim light of the lair, a feral woman shuffles towards a fire pit. The officer's eyes, wide with fear and disbelief, dart around the cavernous dwelling. He spots the woman he had been searching for. She's injured, but alive, huddled in a corner, her face a mask of terror. His attention is snapped back to the feral woman. She stoops over the fire, stirring a bubbling pot. Her hands, gnarled and worn, move with a disturbing familiarity. His heart hammers against his chest as he takes in her ragged appearance. She's old, her eyes sunken and vacant, her skin stretched thin over protruding bones. She looks as though she's been here for decades, surviving in this god-forsaken lair. Suddenly, the creature that brought him here, the towering behemoth that lurks in the shadows, lumbers forward. Its massive hand closes around his arm, its grip vice-like. The officer struggles, but it's like fighting against iron chains. He's dragged toward the fire, the heat licking at his face as he's thrust down in front of the feral woman. She looks at him then, her eyes glinting in the flickering firelight. In her hand she holds a hefty blade, its edge glinting ominously. As she steps towards him, the reality of the situation crashes down on him like a wave. He's not here to rescue. He's here to be a part of this gruesome feast. The woman he came to save. She's not a victim, but a bride in this twisted ceremony. The officer's heart pounds in his ears, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He opens his mouth to scream, but the sound is swallowed by the deafening roar of the creature and the crackling fire. As the blade gleams in the firelight, a chilling scream echoes through the forest, swallowed by the dense trees, leaving the audience to wonder what happened to the brave officer. The forest offers no answers, only the haunting silence of an untold story. Imagine a family lighthearted and joyous, stepping into the dense, lush forest for a day of adventure. The air is thick with the scent of pine. The sun paints dappled patterns on the forest floor, and the symphony of nature plays in the background. Parents share tender moments, their laughter blending with the chirping of birds overhead. The children, consumed by a world of make-believe, embark on a game of hide-and-seek, their giggles echoing off the tree trunks. The forest, once a backdrop for their innocent play, suddenly morphs into a maze of shadows and secrets. The youngest, a sprightly boy with a mischievous glint in his eye, vanishes, swallowed by the green abyss. His siblings search in vain, their calls for him only returned by the rustling of leaves. His laughter, once echoing through the trees, was abruptly silenced. The family's joy turned to panic as they realized the boy was nowhere to be found. The once vibrant and lush forest now echoed with their desperate cries, the laughter and bonding of moments ago, a distant memory. The game of hide-and-seek had taken a horrifying turn. The youngest child, a boy, had vanished without a trace. The family scoured the area, hope dwindling with each passing moment. The father's eyes darted from one area of the forest to another, his heart pounding in his chest. The mother, clutching the hand of their daughter, made a decision. She would seek help, while the father continued the search. As the mother and daughter hurried towards the nearest ranger station, the father stumbled upon a chilling discovery. His son's shoe splattered with blood. His heart sank, dread seeping into his veins. He called out, his voice choked with fear and frustration. The forest swallowed his cries, offering nothing in return. Then, from the silence, a muffled scream. The father's heart lurched. It was faint, barely discernible, but it was there. A child's cry fading away into the distance. Fear gave way to determination. He had to find his son. He sprinted towards the sound, branches whipping at his face, leaves crunching underfoot. The mother, meanwhile, had reached the ranger station. Her words tumbled out in a rush. "My little boy is missing. We can't find him. Please help." The rangers trained for such situations immediately sprung into action, calling for search and rescue teams. Back in the forest, the father was losing ground. The cries were becoming fainter, more distant. But he pressed on, driven by a desperate hope. The forest seemed to close in around him, an eerie silence settling in. As the cries faded, the father plunged deeper into the unknowable wilderness. The search for his son was far from over, and the true horror of their predicament was only just beginning. There was a glimmer of hope when the mother reached the ranger station. Desperation etched on her face. She pleaded for help. The rangers, trained for such situations, sprang into action. Through the dense forest, they mobilized, forming a search and rescue operation of a magnitude rarely seen. 200 volunteers from nearby communities rallied to their call, their concern for the lost child uniting them in a common cause. Even the local army base contributed, their soldiers joining the search with a sense of disciplined urgency. The search dogs, their noses unmatched in their ability to track, were brought in, sniffing the air fervently. They picked up the boy's scent, their tails wagging with the promise of a successful search. But then, something strange happened. The dogs grew wary, their tails no longer wagging but tucked between their legs. They refused to continue, whimpering and looking back towards the safety of the ranger station. Was it the scent of an unknown predator that scared them? Or was it something else entirely? No one could tell, but one thing was certain. The boy's scent was there. Then, it wasn't. Like a candle extinguished by a sudden gust of wind, the trail ended abruptly. The search teams were left in silent bewilderment, their eyes scanning the dense forest, their hearts heavy with the daunting reality of the situation. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, the sense of urgency grew. The forest grew darker, the shadows longer, and the sounds of the forest more haunting. Despite their best efforts, the boy remained lost. His scent disappeared and the search dogs refusing to continue. The scent trail ended abruptly, leaving the teams in silent bewilderment. The fading daylight marked the end of the day's search, but not the end of their resolve. They knew they would have to continue at first light, hoping against hope that the boy would be found safe and sound. As night fell, a new terror gripped the forest. The father, lost and desperate, stumbled upon a small platoon of army men. With the moonlight casting long, eerie shadows, they stood determined, armed with high-tech equipment and a resolve as unyielding as the towering trees around them. One of them, his face obscured by night vision goggles, offered a glimmer of hope in the oppressive darkness. The father, voice trembling with fear and exhaustion, shared his haunted tale. He spoke of the faint cries that echoed through the forest, cries that seemed to carry his son's voice. The army men, hardened by countless battles, felt a shiver of unease. Something was amiss, they knew, but they were soldiers, and they would not back down. Together, they ventured deeper into the heart of the forest. The cries grew louder, more distinct, guiding them like a siren song. They followed the sound, their footsteps muffled by the damp undergrowth, their breaths held in silent anticipation. As they reached the source, their hearts sank. No boy awaited them, only a small, blood-stained t-shirt, its fabric torn and tattered, a horrifying testament to the boy's plight. The father clutched the shirt, his hand shaking, tears glistening in his eyes. He looked up at the army men, their faces grim in the dim light. They shared a moment of silent understanding. The boy was still out there, somewhere, and he was not alone. The forest, once filled with the sounds of nocturnal creatures, fell eerily silent. A chill ran down their spines as they realized the boy might not be alone in the forest. The darkness around them seemed to close in, swallowing them whole, as they steeled themselves for the horrors that awaited them in the shadowy depths of the wilderness. Suddenly the forest erupted with the deafening howls of a beast. The cries were so piercing they seemed to cut through the calm of the night, leaving an echo of dread in their wake. It was no ordinary creature. This was something far more sinister. It was a beast that only the darkest corners of our fears could conceive. A werewolf-like creature, towering 10 feet tall, with an odor so foul, it felt like acid in your nostrils. The father and the small platoon of army men froze, their hearts pounding in their chests like war drums. The beast was hidden, its presence known only through the terror it inspired. Then, one by one, the men fell prey to the monstrous creature, each life snuffed out as swiftly and brutally as the last. Their bodies left as chilling reminders of the beast's savage power. The father, driven by desperate hope, pressed on. He moved through the darkness with a singular purpose, the cries of his son pulling him forward like a lifeline. But the beast was relentless. It hunted with a ruthless efficiency, leaving the father as the last man standing. His fear was drowned out by his desperation. He had to reach his son. He had to save him. But the beast, seeing this as a threat, lashed out. The father felt a crushing blow, a pain so intense it was almost surreal. His body crumpled to the ground, the echoes of his bones breaking, reverberating through the silent forest. His last sight was his son, sitting unharmed among the monsters, feeding on the fresh meat. The image was as horrifying as it was heartbreaking. His innocent child, sitting among the creatures of nightmares, partaking in their gruesome feast. The father's last breath was a silent plea for his son's safety, his last thought a prayer for the boy's soul. When dawn broke, there was no trace of the boy, his father, or the army men. The forest, once filled with the frantic energy of a search and rescue mission, had returned to its deceptive calm. The search teams combed the area with a fine-toothed comb, their efforts echoed by the mournful howls of their canine companions. But their search was in vain, yielding no answers, only more questions. The forest, with its lush green canopy and vibrant animal life, seemed to mock their efforts, hiding its secrets beneath a cloak of tranquility. The boy's shoe, the father's desperate cries, the blood-stained t-shirt, all had disappeared as if swallowed by the forest itself. The search and rescue teams, despite their best efforts and the assistance of over 200 volunteers, were left empty-handed. The boy's fate remains a mystery, leaving us with a chilling question. What happened to the boy? The clock strikes 12 and all is not well in the woods. Our tale begins in the heart of a dense, eerie forest. The moon, the only light in this dark abyss, paints long, menacing shadows that dance and flicker with every gust of wind. The wind, like an ethereal conductor, orchestrates a chilling symphony as it whistles through the leaves and rustles the undergrowth. The forest, alive in its nocturnal majesty, holds an uncanny sense of foreboding, as if hiding a secret waiting for the right moment to reveal its dark truth. In the midst of this haunting wilderness, we find our protagonist, a seasoned hiker. He's no stranger to the call of the wild, but tonight he's alone, not out of necessity, but by choice. He's on a midnight trek, a daring adventure into the unknown. His heart races, not from fear, but from the thrill, the exhilarating thrill of what lies ahead. His senses heightened, he takes in the unique aroma of the forest, a mix of dew-soaked foliage and the earthiness of the soil. The cold wind stings his face, but he welcomes it, a reminder of his solitude and vulnerability in this vast expanse of nature. Every step he takes, every rustle he makes echoes through the woods, disturbing the quiet and yet adding to the symphony. His flashlight, like a beacon, cuts through the darkness, revealing the path ahead, yet casting long, ominous shadows that seem to follow him. He's an intruder in this sacred space, a human element in a world ruled by nature, but he moves forward, driven by an insatiable curiosity, a desire to explore, to witness the forest in its raw, untamed glory. The forest, in response, seems to whisper back. The rustling leaves, the creaking branches, the distant hoot of an owl, all seem to convey a message. A warning, or a welcome, he can't tell. The forest has secrets. Secrets it guards fiercely. Secrets it whispers to those brave enough to venture into its depths. As the hiker ventures deeper, the forest whispers secrets unshared with the world. In the heart of darkness, something stirs, unseen yet distinctly felt. A hiker, alone in the vast wilderness, senses an unusual presence. His heartbeat quickens, pounding in rhythm with the suspenseful silence of the woods. The wind whispers secrets through the rustling leaves, each sway a testament to the unseen entity lurking in the shadows. Every crunch underfoot, every snap of a twig echoes in the void, disrupting the natural symphony of the night. As if on cue, a distant growl rumbles through the undergrowth, a primal sound that sends shivers down the hiker's spine. The air grows colder, denser, as though the very atmosphere is holding its breath in anticipation. The hiker's senses are heightened, his instincts screaming danger. He feels the gaze of unseen eyes upon him, a voyeuristic presence that seems to penetrate his very soul. Despite his courage, despite his resolve, the hiker cannot shake off the feeling of being watched. From the abyss of the night, a shadow takes form. In the depth of the midnight forest, a hiker's heart pounds in his chest like a wild drum. His breath comes in short, ragged gasps as his eyes strain to pierce the consuming darkness. Suddenly, his torchlight catches on something. A figure, impossibly large, lurking at the edge of the clearing. The hiker's blood runs cold as he takes in the sight before him. A monolithic creature, standing at a staggering 11 feet tall. Its body is covered in a dense layer of hair, dark as the night itself, seemingly part of the shadows from which it emerged. The mere size of the being is awe-inspiring, but it's the creature's eyes that captivate the hiker. Two orbs, glowing with an ethereal light, gleam in the moonlight. They radiate an intelligence that is almost human, yet uncanny. They hold a world of understanding, a depth of knowledge that seems to span ages. The hiker is rooted to the spot, entranced by the gaze of this colossal creature. There is a moment, a heartbeat in time, where man and beast lock eyes. The hiker's fear is mirrored in the creature's eyes, along with a primal curiosity. It is a shared moment of understanding, a silent acknowledgement of each other's existence in the grand tapestry of life. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the creature retreats back into the obscurity of the forest, leaving nothing but the echo of its presence. The hiker is left standing in the moonlit clearing, his heart pounding, a rhythm of fear and fascination. Did he imagine it all? Was it a trick of the light, a figment of his fear-addled mind? But no, the lingering sense of awe is too real. The memory of the encounter too vivid. Frozen in fear and awe, the hiker stares at the creature, the Bigfoot. The silence shatters, giving way to a heart-stopping chase. The Bigfoot, a hulking monstrosity, standing 11 feet tall, roars with a primal fury that echoes through the forest, chilling the marrow of the bones. It lunges at the hiker, its massive arms reaching out with a terrifying intensity. The hiker, in the face of such a nightmarish spectacle, can do nothing but run. The chase is on. A ballet of terror unfolds under the moonlit canopy, a dance of life and death. The hiker, driven by the pure, primal adrenaline, darts through the forest, his heart pounds in his chest, a frantic drum echoing his terror. Every gasping breath he takes is a desperate plea for survival, every step a desperate bid for freedom. The forest, once a place of peace and tranquility, is now a labyrinth of fear. The Bigfoot is relentless in its pursuit, its monstrous form crashing through the underbrush with an unstoppable force. It's a nightmare come to life, an embodiment of raw, primal terror. Its roars are a deafening symphony of fear that reverberates through the night, a haunting reminder of the hiker's precarious situation. The hiker stumbles, a root hidden in the shadows tripping him up, but he quickly recovers. He can't afford to fall, can't afford to stop. He has to keep moving, has to keep running. His life depends on it. The forest is a blur around him, a dizzying kaleidoscope of fear and desperation. His lungs burn with the effort, his muscles scream in protest, but he pushes on, driven by the instinct to survive. The chase continues, a terrifying game of cat and mouse under the midnight sky. The hiker moves with a frantic energy, his fear propelling him forward. The Bigfoot, a monstrous silhouette against the moonlit sky, is a constant, looming threat. The hiker can hear its heavy footfalls, can feel its presence behind him, a chilling reminder of the danger he's in, and then, just as suddenly as it began, it ends. The hiker, gasping for breath, loses sight of the creature. The forest falls silent once more, the echoes of the chase fading into the night. But the fear remains, a lingering specter in the darkness. The chase may be over, but the nightmare is far from finished. Safety seems within grasp, or so it appears. Our hiker, heart pounding like a drum in his chest, stumbles upon a clearing in the dense forest. The moonlight breaks through the canopy, casting an eerie glow on the forest floor. His breaths come in ragged gasps, echoing in the stillness of the night. His eyes dart around the clearing, scanning for any signs of the monstrous creature that has been pursuing him. The towering trees stand sentinel around him, their shadows dancing in the flickering moonlight. A sense of relief washes over him, as fleeting as a whisper in the wind. The adrenaline coursing through his veins begins to ebb. He's made it, he's safe, or so he thinks. But then, something changes. The air grows colder, the forest sounds dim. The feeling of being watched returns, stronger than before. It's as if the woods themselves have come alive, their ancient spirits awakened. An icy dread seeps into his bones, the sensation of unseen eyes boring into him. The taste of fear is bitter on his tongue. Suddenly, the solitary beam of his flashlight flickers. He smacks it against his palm, pleading with it to hold on. His pleas go unanswered. With a final gasp, the light goes out, plunging him into darkness. The inky blackness of the forest swallows him whole, leaving him blind and vulnerable. His heart hammers in his chest, each beat echoing the ticking of a clock counting down. In the deafening silence, a low growl echoes, bouncing off the towering trees and reverberating across the clearing. It's a sound that makes his blood run cold, a sound that promises danger and dread. It's a sound that leaves no room for doubt. The creature is still out there, lurking in the shadows, and it's close, so very close. In the deafening silence, a low growl echoes, leaving the hiker and the audience on a chilling cliffhanger. And so, our tale of the campfire horrors comes to an end. Until next time, sleep tight. Before we part ways, dear viewers, remember to stay vigilant. The campfire horrors may have been extinguished for now, but the embers of the unknown always remain. As you lay down to sleep tonight, don't forget the lessons from our tale. Safety is but a fleeting moment in a world of unseen. So if you've enjoyed this journey into the abyss, don't forget to ring that bell and smash that like button. Do it before the thing under your bed decides to pay you a visit. Oh, and keep those night lights on. You never know what might be lurking in the dark. Thank you for embarking on this terrifying adventure with us. Until our paths cross again in another tale of the unknown. Goodbye and sweet dreams, if you can.